Now, of all the state and federal charges brought against former President Trump, the Mar-a-Lago documents case was thought to be the strongest and the most easily understood. Last week, Judge Aileen Cannon dismissed the case because she said Special Counsel Jack Smith was not legally appointed. Now, Cannon has been heavily criticized for her decision, but conservative legal scholars have been making that argument against special counsels for years. So, was Cannon's decision, Ben, her dismissal, as out of line as much of the media coverage is suggesting?
No, definitely not. It was, as we've seen with mainstream media, it is covered with one particular slant, the majority of it. And I do think that there is some grounds for there, and thankfully we've got a legal expert on there with us today. But the point being, in 1999, Congress had a chance to keep the stuff that was there due to Watergate for special counsels, and they let it run out. They did not renew it. So we've been basing our precedents off of internal regulations of the Justice Department.
Yeah, I think that is a factor, certainly, right? Because the only precedent that binds her is U.S. versus Nixon, which is the Leon Jaworski subpoena authorization from the Supreme Court for the Oval Office tapes in the Nixon administration. But first of all, that was applying the old law, the law that was in place by Congress. But secondly, Nixon never challenged the authority of the independent counsel as a constitutional matter or even as a statutory matter. And so, her argument and the argument of the conservative scholars who have supported this theory is that this issue has never been litigated before the Supreme Court. And it's not really been litigated as a consequence even by the appellate courts and other trial judges whose rulings don't control her. So it's not an illegitimate ruling. It might be an incorrect ruling, and it's going up on appeal, we believe. All indications are. But yeah, I think it has been overstated that she's been out of, that all these courts have ruled the other way, and she's therefore categorically wrong.
I can't argue whether she's right or wrong. You know better than I, but it's just so unorthodox to me, right? I mean, the same challenge was posed against Robert Mueller. The same challenge was posed against a special counsel for Hunter Biden. All of those challenges were dismissed, and here we just happen to have a Trump appointee who, whether it's favoritism or whether it's true ideology, says, no, all these previous rulings were wrong. I think I really understand what the law is and how it should be applied. In a national security case with documents that nobody's arguing that Trump, except himself, didn't actually do something wrong. It's mind-boggling to me as a non-law expert who follows American government closely.
I would have to agree 100% with Luke here. I will certainly defer to legal judgments, but this is a case, again, we've seen time and time and time again, precedents struck down by Trump judges. At the same time, they go back and they complain about activist judges in the past. Well, this is activism, but from the right, and so I have a tough time not seeing this as political rather than judicial.
District court judge.
Right. District court judges, that's why we have appellate courts, to correct the errors of district court judges.
And it doesn't matter because the result is he's not going to go on trial before the election.
Right.
And I think
He wasn't
whether it was
go on
political
trial.
or not, that was the goal of Trump and his lawyers, and they have succeeded.
But this also highlights a concept that a lot of people don't understand between factually guilty and legally guilty. And that's what we're waiting for the appellate court to decide, is if can he be found legally guilty. Factually, everything that we've seen in the news and other places, it sure looks like there's a strong case there to be legally guilty.
Sorry, and the courts, obviously particularly Supreme Court and even beyond, are facing these accusations of partisanship. I mean, as someone who examines electoral politics, is it just a random coincidence that this judgment was made on the first day of the Republican National Convention? Like, that defies logic. So I think judges are putting themselves in a difficult position as well. I think process
Well-
matters, and the selection process matters too. I think getting rid of the filibuster through judicial nominations was a problem. 23 senators didn't even vote for Eileen Cannon. She got 56 votes. There were some Democrats in that, but I think we need to have the filibuster so we can get more moderate judges that will make decisions that are less ideological on either
Well,
extreme.
if the Democrats come in, we may.
I know, that's for another show, right?
So, this does raise an issue about that case as to whether Jack Smith kind of went too big. Could he have just focused on the obstruction issue
Yeah, I
there
mean,
and not
look,
brought the espionage?
I mean, there is an issue there, and I'm going to get shouted down here. But the espionage charges, the problem is, right? There's a matter of degree there. Joe Biden took documents home too. Okay, and so, but the obstruction was clear, and I don't think it would have made a difference. I think this judge was going to behave like this judge was going to behave. I mean, ironically, Jack Smith picked this court. Yes, there is an issue of constitutional venue potentially. That would have just created another challenge
And
had Trump.
Could he have picked someone to be special prosecutor that wouldn't have run into this
Yes.
problem?
Well, he
He
could
could have
have.
done
We're
that.
gonna